This ball is crushed.
You're listening to the New York Yankees Recaps Podcast, where we're talking New York Yankees baseball all season long. Recaps of big games, the best home run calls, trades, rumors, and what's happening down on the farm. Every game, all season long.
Good morning, everybody. Today is February 6th, 2020. We're just a couple weeks away from spring training, pitchers and catchers reporting to camp, and we've already got some big injury news for the New York Yankees. James Paxton, presumably the number 2 or 3 starter in the rotation, is going to be out for 3 to 4 months with spinal surgery. Apparently it's a dissectomy of a lumbar disc to remove a cyst, whatever that means. I'm not a doctor. Sounds bad. Anything dealing with the spine is bad because those things can go wrong. But it sounds like the surgery was successful, and all they need to do now is get him some rest and rehab. But I got to tell you, it concerns me. Now, I still think the Yankees are strong enough to win the East. I don't think the Red Sox are going to be much of a threat anymore after trading Mookie Betts. And I think the Rays are going to be good, but I don't think they're on the Yankees level quite yet. Plus, the additions that the Yankees have made, they make them a better team, even with or without Paxton. But you can't lose too much more, especially from the rotation. I've heard people saying on social media and call-in shows to radios, why didn't the Yankees get this procedure done for Paxton shortly after the season? Because they knew something was there. Well, apparently, the way these things work is sometimes they go away with rest and medicine. And so you always want to avoid spinal surgery if you can because it's so dangerous. One slip-up, doctor sneezes, all of a sudden James Paxton's in a wheelchair. You know? So it's always best to avoid going under the knife, especially if you're going to be, under general anesthetic. That type of thing, people can die from that. Surgery is never risk-free, right? It's dangerous. And so you want to avoid it whenever possible. Unfortunately, in this instance, the Yankees and James Paxton were not able to avoid it. And so ultimately, it looks as if he will be out until June. But he's not going to have a spring training. So, we saw what happened with Luis Severino last year. And with Dellin Betances, when you don't have a spring training, it's very tough for a pitcher's body to adjust. And sometimes you can get re-injured or you just won't have as good a stuff. Luis Severino didn't get re-injured, but I don't think anybody would say he was as sharp as he usually is when he came back. He had a couple of rehab starts, but when he came back, I know he pitched to a low ERA, but he was struggling to get out of the 4th or 5th inning. And you need more than that from Paxton when he comes back. So if I'm the Yankees, I'm very, very careful with Paxton. I think they'll be cautious. I don't think you'll see him at full strength, if you see him at full strength all season, until at least late August or September, because I think they're going to give him time to have a typical spring training when he comes back and starts rehabbing. They're going to put him through all the drills, all the pitcher fielding practice, all the jogging, all the long tossing. He's going to have to work himself back up. In the meantime, how do the Yankees adjust the roster? So this is why I was troubled by Brian Cashman saying that Jay Happ was going to be the 5th starter, a few weeks ago, because you never know who's going to be the 5th starter or who's going to take any position until the season actually starts. Maybe a few days ahead of time you can start naming who's going to be starters and so on and so forth, but it's too early. You got to go through a whole spring training. Guys can still get hurt. We haven't even started baseball activities yet. Tanaka still got that torn elbow. Anything can happen. So let's look at the options that we have for the rotation now that Paxton is out. So let's go through the rotation that we have existing first. Number 1, no question there, as long as he's healthy, Garrett Cole. Number 2, I think you got to go with Luis Severino, assuming that he's healthy. When he's healthy, he's dominant. He won 19 games a couple of years ago. He had a sub-3 ERA the year before that. So he's a strong pitcher. Last year, of course, the entire season was marred by injuries. More it was rehab injuries than anything significant that kept him out all year. It was one thing after the next. It started off as, I think, some shoulder soreness, and then after that it was a lat injury that occurred during rehab. And supposedly the Yankees have adjusted their rehab protocols with this new trainer, Eric Cressy. So hopefully things will be different. If guys do get hurt, they'll be back sooner. But number 1 and number 2, Cole and Severino. Number 3, Masahiro Tanaka. Tanaka was 11-9 last season in 32 appearances with a 4.45 ERA. He pitched well in the postseason. He won Game 1 of the American League Championship Series against the Houston Astros. Number 4, I think you're probably going with Jay Happ. He was 12-8 with a 4.91 ERA, though he did pitch much better in the second half. If you look at Jay Happ's numbers from the final 6 appearances of the season, this is August 26th through September 25th. He appeared in 6 games, 5 games started. He was 2-0, 32 innings, 35 strikeouts, 8 earned runs. That's a 2.23 ERA, a 177 batting average against. Now, there's an old saying, don't believe everything you see in April or September, because there's a lot of guys who are in the league for the first time, rookies, just starting in the big leagues in April. There's also cold weather. And then, in September, there's the call-ups. At least there used to be. Now you can only do, I think, 27 folks on the roster. I think that's the new rule. But last year, you could have up to 40 guys on the roster. So you see a lot of guys getting their major league cup of coffee. So, a veteran, a wily veteran like Jay Happ would take advantage of that. So I don't necessarily believe in Jay Happ just yet. But if you look at their rotation last year, it's very interesting to see the turnover. Last year, the Yankees' rotation basically was Masahiro Tanaka, Jay Happ, James Paxton, Domingo Germán, and CC Sabathia. So just to start out this season, only Tanaka and Happ remain. And a lot of people thought, myself included, that Happ was going to be traded this year. I didn't think he'd be back, but apparently Brian Cashman said that he hung on to Happ in case James Paxton needed the surgery. And unfortunately, he did. Good thing for the Yankees, they do have some options that they can fill in the rotation. So the rotation, the top 3 we've established, going to be Cole, Severino, Tanaka. 4 will be Happ. And then the number 5 spot, according to Brian Cashman, is going to be an open competition. We're going to see Davy Garcia get a look. Top prospect. Actually, the number 3 prospect, according to Baseball America. We're going to see Luis Cessa get a try. Now, he was pretty good out of the bullpen last year. He's not a great starter. In fact, he didn't make any starts last season. He pitched 81 innings, all out of the bullpen, had 75 strikeouts. He had a 1.08 ERA plus, so barely above average, 4.11 ERA. He's going to be 28 years old this year. Jonathan Loaizaga. He was solid, but I don't trust him as a starter because he breaks down. He's a small guy. He was 2-2. He had 15 appearances, 4 of them starts. He posted a 4.55 ERA. And it looks like he had 37 strikeouts in 31 innings. Pretty good control, 16 walks, 99 ERA plus, so slightly below average. I think they might even go with the opener option. Chad Green started 15 games last year. He was 4-4 with a 4.17 ERA, but pitched much better than those numbers. If you recall, he got off to a really bad start. They had to send him down to AAA, and he struggled for a bit before putting it together. It was something to do with the position of his hands. They weren't allowing his arm to get into the right load slot, and so he just didn't get the same zip or spin rate on his fastball that he usually does. And so a lot of those fastballs that he usually blows by people at 96, 97 were 94, 95, and they were getting fouled off or put into play. And so Chad Green didn't have a great start, but he put it together, finished with 98 strikeouts in 69 innings, a 107 ERA plus. So wouldn't surprise me to see him as a option, as a an opener once again. Another option, Jordan Montgomery. I think people forget just how good Jordan Montgomery was in his rookie campaign in 2017. He was 9-7. He made 29 starts, so he was very reliable. He had a 3.88 ERA, which was a 1.16 ERA plus. He pitched 155 and a third innings, had 144 strikeouts, and he finished 6th in the Rookie of the Year voting. And then he started off well in 2018. He was the number 5 starter. He was 2-0 with a 3.62 ERA in 6 starts, a 1.17 ERA plus. So very, very consistent before he tore his ulnar collateral ligament in the game in Houston and had Tommy John surgery. He returned last season, pitched to a 6.75 ERA in 2 games, just 1 game started. They say you don't really get to 100% until your second year after your surgery because, when you're rehabbing things like that, you're not 100% confident in your arm. You're still adjusting, is this ligament going to snap again? So, a lot of guys, they come back and they don't have the feel for pitching. So hopefully with a winter to train and, get back into his usual routine of throwing bullpens, long tossing, feeling 100% healthy, hopefully now he trusts that elbow. And if Montgomery comes back at 100%, his ERA was 3.88, which is, in his rookie season, that's pretty much what James Paxton gave you last year. James Paxton had a 3.82 ERA, but I'll tell you why that's a little deceptive. He got off to a slow start, if you remember, and he had a knee injury. There were some complaints about the firmness of the dirt on the mound when he was pitching. They had to soften it up. But then in the second half, he started mixing in his curveball more and throwing it harder, and he went off in the second half. Now, I'm going to throw out his last start of the regular season because he pitched just 1 inning and gave up 2 runs, and it was kind of a shortened tune-up. But from August 2nd to September 21st, in 10 starts, he was 10-0 with 60 innings pitched, so he averaged 6 innings a start. He had 68 strikeouts, and he had a 2.25 ERA. So the Yankees unlocked something that they thought they were getting when they traded for him. He figured it out, and now, unfortunately, he has this injury. But it's nothing new for Paxton. I mean, he's been injured his entire career. That was one of the concerns when the Yankees traded for him. Hey, can this guy stay on the field? Unfortunately, the answer to that is no. And this hurts Paxton, too, because he's going to be a free agent after the year. So, his inability to put together a healthy season in his contract year is going to hurt him financially. So, maybe it helps the Yankees. Maybe if he comes back and shows a little bit of promise, maybe they sign him to an extension, give him an extra year. I don't know if he would agree to that because then he would be hitting free agency later. But the Yankees might be able to re-sign him to a multi-year contract, at a discount now because of this back injury. So a lot of things in play here, a lot of different scenarios. It's going to hurt to have James Paxton out, but if he comes back at anywhere near what he was during the second half of last year, the Yankees are going to be just fine. You really just don't want anybody else to go down. You can't afford to lose Cole. You got to take care of Cole during spring training. He pitched a lot of innings last year. A lot of innings. He's pitched a lot of innings the last couple years because the Astros go deep into the postseason. So Cole gets leaned on heavily deep into October. And if the Yankees are going to do that again, eventually these guys are going to wear down. I mean, that's just what happens. You saw it with David Price. You saw it with Chris Sale. It happens. Guys can't go 250 innings every season anymore. So I think the Yankees are going to take it easy with Cole out of the gate. I think they'll, really baby him during spring training. I think in April you won't see him go much more than 6 innings. They might even give him an extra day off now and then. Go with a starter when you have an option, an opener. Maybe get Davy Garcia in there to make a spot start. Spread it out so maybe he pitches 4 times in April instead of 5 or 6. Let him get into the swing of things in New York without all the ton of pressure and things like that adding on to what is already an overworked arm. Now, from everything I hear about Garrett Cole, he's just got one of those arms that, the day after he pitches, he can go out and warm up, and he's throwing 100 miles an hour. He's just got one of those naturally tightly wound arms. But we've seen with guys like that they can get hurt. Severino, for example. So, I don't know if he's got more of a Verlander or a Roger Clemens type of arm where he can pitch deep into his 30s. The Yankees certainly believe so because they gave him $324 million. But if I'm the Yankees and I'm paying all that money and I want him for October, I'm being careful with him. The Yankees' schedule in April is not too tough. They've got the Orioles, they've got the Tigers. It shouldn't be too bad. I think they got the Rangers in their new ballpark. Have you checked out their new ballpark yet? Their new ballpark is nice. I kind of wish the Yankees had gotten a retractable roof. I know it doesn't fit with what the traditionalists love about Yankee Stadium and open air stadium and just get that New York smell and things like that. But man, I hate it when a game gets rained out. Is there anything worse than you're slogging away at work all day and you're looking forward to those 3 hours of respite when you can flip on the game and have a beer, order a pizza, have a burger, hang out with your dog or your friend or your wife or whomever, your best friend, and watch the game and relax. And then at 6 o'clock, you get that tweet from the Yes Network or from the Yankees that says, "Tonight's game will not start on time due to inclement weather. We will update you going forward." And then at like 6:52, after they've sold $100,000 in beer and concessions, they send everybody home. "Tonight's game has been postponed and will be made up as part of a day-night doubleheader, so we can get twice the money, in 6 months." So, I don't know. I think they'll take care of Garrett Cole down the stretch. I think you'll see Jordan Montgomery get into the rotation now because of this injury. I do hope they give a lot of looks to Davy Garcia. One thing you can look forward to on my YouTube channel, I'm going to try and record any spring training games that are on, so that way I can get a look at these pitchers and show every pitch of their starts or their relief outings, so we can really analyze their stuff. One forgotten thing about this rotation, catastrophe that we have now, if you can call it that, the Yankees still have a very nice bullpen, so they can make up for some of this, any starters going down with run prevention out of the bullpen. They've got Tommy Kahnle is just going to be 30 years old. Zach Britton will be 32, Ottavino 34, Chad Green 29, and Aroldis Chapman 32. So these guys are getting towards the end of their bullpen effectiveness, but they should still be good. Aroldis had a 2.21 ERA last year. Chad Green had the 4.17. We mentioned that earlier. Ottavino was at 1.90. Zach Britton, who's added that slurve to his nasty sinker, had a 1.91 ERA. And Tommy Kahnle, with that devastating changeup, 3.67 ERA. So Kahnle had 61 innings, 88 strikeouts. Ottavino, 66 innings, 88 strikeouts. Green, 69 innings, 98 strikeouts. Chapman, 57 innings, 85 strikeouts. So we can miss bats with that bullpen. It's just a matter of keeping everybody healthy, which I think they can do. The Yankees tend to not use guys more than 2 days in a row. They don't go 3 days in a row until they need to. I think last year it didn't happen until the playoffs. So really looking forward to this season. It's unfortunate that James Paxton is hurt, but I think the Yankees will be able to survive this blow as long as they don't have any other major injuries. I mean, if you lose Judge and Stanton again, and you lose another big-time pitcher, you lose Cole, you lose Severino, then you're looking at trouble. Then even the Red Sox and Rays can make a run at things. I don't think the Rays are anyone that we should take lightly. I mean, they've won over 90 games the last 2 years. They're disgusting. They've got good pitching. They're good with the analytics. And they're hungry, and they're young. So, anyway, thanks for joining. Reminder, you can get all of these on YouTube and on wherever you get your podcast. If you're listening to this on YouTube, you can get these on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, all that stuff. If you're listening on YouTube or on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher, go ahead and subscribe. Don't forget to give a rating on your podcast app. It'll help, create an audience for this podcast. Go ahead and go to Apple Podcasts on your computer or on your mobile device and, go to the rating system, give it 5 stars, leave a comment on how much you love this podcast. And that'll be that. And hopefully we will build quite an audience over this season. So only a few more weeks till spring training. Hang in there.